medically speaking, and I think the doctors would say that you're, I think the correct word for what you have is totally fucked. Welcome to Splintered Spirits, the podcast hosted by me, Gary, and my nephew, John Santa from Santa Paranormal, where we try to answer the question, what are spirits? Today's guest is someone who's been to the edge and back. Not once, not twice, but 4 times. 4 near-death experiences. I'm talking about the Balesky. Psychic medium Amie Balesky has survived cancer as a child, a traumatic childbirth, and 2 intense surgical emergencies due to a rare medical condition. Each near-death experience expanded her connection to the other side, sharpening her ability to hear, see, and feel spirits. Through the Balesky experience, Amie teaches that spirit communication is all about frequency, tuning in more so than reaching out. She's here to talk with us about what death taught her, how vibration plays a role in the spirit world, and what it really means to survive. Amie shares stories about love, death, and suicide, so let that be a warning for those easily triggered by such topics. We're going to get into it all. Amie is a true survivor, with a spirit stronger than anything breaking through from the other side. We are lucky to have her on the podcast. Let's dive into the conversation. I want to tell you really quickly, Amie, how I discovered you, because I'm new to this whole paranormal world, right? I got into this with John. This is my nephew. And
oh, hi, nephew.
Yeah, I know. I tell people I have a nephew in the paranormal. They think it's a little kid. I'm like, no, he's no kid. He's an adult person. He's an adult person. And he's got a big TikTok following.
Hold on. Sometimes I'm an adult person.
Right. There's maturity level. There's a difference between maturity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
He's
big kid right here. That's it.
It's exactly right. So, and I'm a producer in LA, so I create shows, and I wanted to try to figure out how to make a format for a show around this guy and what he does. And as I got into it, I was like, let's start with a podcast and talking about spirit communication and what we do. So we've had several interviews with like academics and psychics and authors, and really I'm getting into this space. So I'm just sitting on my couch and I'm Herkel-Dirkling, doom scrolling on my phone, right? And you show up, and of course, the look is phenomenal, right? The hair, the eyes. I'm like, all right, who's this? And then she starts talking about spirits. I'm like, oh, she's in the tribe, right? Like she's one. Okay, let's see what's going on. And then the attitude was like very East Coast, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, she's one of them. I got to reach out. And then I started digging into your story, Amie, and it's like, I was just floored by it on all levels. So, and I think that's where we want to get into this. And I know you've talked about a lot of this before, because, I mean, the first thing is, and as I was looking this up, medically speaking, and I think the doctors would say that you're, I think the correct word for what you have is totally fucked. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like, is that safe to say?
Yes.
Like, medically, you have a very intense conditions going on in your life.
Absolutely.
And has that, with all these 4 near-death experiences, would you say that's strengthened your ability?
Hell yeah.
Given you the ability? Or
Strengthened.
Okay.
Strengthened. So essentially, I guess everybody has this. Everybody has this. Oh my God, there's so many people that gatekeep this shit. And like, nobody can be a medium. Sorry, can I curse on here? Is that okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, everybody has the fucking ability, and we all do it all the time. Everybody communicates telepathically. Everybody can feel, but you just have to understand the language, and that's where like time and practice and all of that, begins. But yeah, like I said, when I was little, I had cancer, right? So I lost my kidney. It was the size of the tumor was the size of a basketball. They found it at stage 3, going to stage 4. And back then, what was that, 1995, they didn't know a whole lot about Wilms tumor, nor had they seen really anything that big. And I got this removed in Houston, Texas. So like at the best place, right, at that point. And when they went and they, put me on the operating table, it essentially had so much vasculature to it that when they were, taking it out, I bled to death. And so that was like my first coding when I was 5 on the table. I was in ICU for like another month afterwards. They brought me back. Everything was fine. And then after that, I had chemotherapy, the whole 9 yards, but I started seeing and feeling and experiencing things and just having like these weird situations. And my dad was in the area. He's from New York, but my dad is from like a little town in New York in Pennsylvania area. They're kind of like both like Russian Jews that like fled the war, came over here, and he was in the military for 30 years, and so he's not woo-woo. And then my mom was a trigonometry professor, so she's not woo-woo. And so I just kind of had all these experiences, and they're like, okay, that's weird. And then I just started questioning it and asking. I guess maybe, being a little eccentric was interesting as well, right? Because I was a musician. I started playing the violin after that. I started playing the piano. I started playing the guitar. Like, I wanted to express this energy in any way possible. And then I ended up, after having my second near-death experience, when I was, 15 at that point, that was due to, bacterial meningitis. At that point, I got it from my violin teacher. Didn't know about it. Coded, took me to the emergency room, whole 9 yards, came back. Things got crazier. Started channeling in high school. Picked up a new instrument. Learned it. I mean, all these are kind of like tied together.
Well, let me cut you off real quick there. You said you started channeling in high school.
Yeah.
All right. So high school's awkward enough for most of us. What happens when you start? What does that mean exactly when you say I started channeling in high school? Were you like doing readings for your friends, or this is like in the privacy of your own room and you're sort of like, how did you get into a state of that?
How did that end up coming up? So essentially when I was probably, I don't know if I have the book in here right now, but when I was in 9th grade, I started feeling and seeing and experiencing all this shit, right? And I didn't know where to turn to, right? This was 2003. So the internet's not a really big thing, as far as like looking at stuff up, and I'm only 14, so I don't know what the heck is going on. And so I went to Barnes and Nobles and I got this book, and it was called, it's that dummies stuff. Remember how they used to have like dummies for computers, but it was like dummies for communicating with spirits. And I was like reading it, and I'm like, this doesn't make any freaking sense. Like, what is this? So I read the whole thing. It didn't match. It was too woo-woo. And so in high school, after learning about that, I started feeling, and I would be in class, it's really quiet, everybody's focusing, and I would get something in my brain, and I would just want to know why. So I would turn around and I'd be like, is this person dead? Like, did this happen? Did this happen yesterday to you? And they're like, yeah, that's weird, But since I was in orchestra and I was in volleyball and all of this, it was kind of taken better because I was already like the friendly butterfly of the whole group. So it was like, oh, that's Amie. She's just eccentric. And then the big one came that was after my near-death experience. I was actually
But Amie, did you consider yourself eccentric, or did you think it was like, did you know what was going on? Did you just think like I am talking to spirits? This is spiritual.
Well, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming from somewhere, but I don't think anybody fully knows 1,000% of what it is until we get there, right?
Okay.
It's a spirit. Everything's a spirit. Everything's energy. I mean, you're a spirit and a body at the same time. And I just know that I was getting this information, these downloads. I would get all these feelings. They would come up, and then they would be translated essentially into English, and then I was correct. Like, that's what was going on. And then I really knew that there was a person, like there are spirits that want to try to get in contact with people because they have things that are left unsaid, and they have to kind of smooth that out in order for them to move up into the light. And so I was in my history class in 11th grade. Her name was Miss Fernandez, and she was very, very private. She was like 65 at that point, very, very private woman. And we're sitting there, and I start getting this shaky feeling. And now I know what that fucking shaky feeling is. It's a spirit coming in and wanting to talk, and they're mixing with your energy, your vibration. It's like overloading your system. And so I'm like, oh my God, what is this? It's only slight. And then all of a sudden I started hearing, like, talk to my wife. I'm so sorry. She found me dead. And so at the very end of class, I got up, and I was like, Miss Fernandez, I said, is your husband passed? Anyway, she just like breaks down. She was out for 2 or 3 days. We thought she was sick because back then it's not uncommon for your teachers to leave. Like, she was the head of the history department.
Did she
like
give
whatever
you an
it
A?
is.
Did she give you the A?
I actually got I think I got a C because I skipped her class a lot. But anyways, no, it's just
I think that deserves an A, bro, right?
Yes,
I mean, you tell your history teacher, that's talk about knowing history about her dead husband, and like, she should have gave you the A, but go ahead.
Absolutely. But no, I told her, and I said, it's weird, he keeps talking about, I think you found him dead. Anyways, yeah, she was at home, she woke up, and he was dead in the bed next to her. He had a heart attack. Ooh. And so she had missed a couple of days of school because of that. But because she was the head of this history department, she couldn't leave for a week. And so she came back, and she was still dealing with the grief, which was kind of cool.
Amie, I usually ask this, and I want to come back to something you said here in a second, but I usually ask this at the top, but I wanted to get into your story because it's so intense and wonderful. But I usually ask this of all our guests. What, because of this now that you're in 11th grade, you're seeing this, you're talking to it like an actual spirit, and you're getting the feeling. What do you think spirits are?
It's really hard to describe a non-physical thing in a physical space. How do I say this? I'll give you a couple of theories. One, this is kind of a dream. This is an illusion. This is something that your consciousness creates so that you can play out different scenarios.
You mean like the Matrix or something?
With your, well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, if you think about it, you break it down, everything is energy, everything is vibration, everything is frequency. That's all it is. It's all in different tones, which leads to densities. That's it. And so a spirit, I think that's like the real. That's the real. And they're coming in and they're like dipping into our world. Because right now, remember, if you think about quantum physics and like what they're discovering, if you're looking around your room right now, nothing else exists outside of it except for what you're viewing. That's it. Matter only exists if you view it. Like that is like a law that is now like solid. It only exists. So everything, if you have a wife, if you have a kid, if you have a pet that's in the other room, that is only a belief or an idea. And you believe it so strongly that when you go out in there, then it manifests itself, essentially, because that matter is being viewed. So spirits exist in between that matrix, I don't have another word for that, and outside of it as well. And they come in, and I guess they use the signals or the frequencies in order to connect. That's where I'm at with this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's how you communicate with them. That's how you judge it. Now, you said you feel like you know they're coming in or they're about to communicate with you when you start to shake. Is that what you said?
That was back then.
That's back then.
That was back then. Yeah. So now, like if I'm out and about, like if I'm at a restaurant or if I'm at the mall or if I'm, like yesterday I went and I got a facial. I wasn't feeling it all. I was just kind of like, okay, enjoy the fucking facial. Shut up. Shut your brain up. Super hard to do that, by the way. Okay. But when they do that, they come in. Remember, everybody gives off a wave. That's, people call it an aura. I don't fucking care about an aura. It's your energy, it's your frequency, it's your tone. And so they come in and they interact with that, and that leads to some sort of disturbance, and it interacts with your body. That's it. And so for me, it would make me slightly shake. Not a lot, not like, but just like enough to be highly annoying. And then there's like this feeling of like, come on, freaking say it. And then it's my choice to either continue ignoring it, which I will continue to get that feeling gnawing in the back of my brain, or I can stop. And it's almost like I shift my focus in, and then I start getting information. That's it.
Now, John, you have a similar feeling when you feel...
Tell me.
Atmospheric. I describe it more as my atmosphere, my general atmosphere. Think of it like you're in Jello, and something hits that Jello or enters that Jello. It shakes the entire thing, and I'll feel it. So I can feel.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So I can't tell what's in a room. I can tell when something enters. If I'm already in here and I'm comfortable, it's existing. Once something comes in, different story.
Correct.
It could be anything. It could be anything.
Yeah. The only time that you're going to feel it is if they want to connect. That's it.
It's like John will say that he's not a psychic or a medium, but I feel like he's just he's in a rough. It's I think Yeah, I've heard you say that before. I always compare it to sports or something, right? I do think everyone has intuition, which is probably a level of that, of mediumship, if you like, just to put a word on it.
Yeah.
But no matter how much I practice, I'm never going to throw a baseball at 98 miles an hour. So I don't know if I would ever achieve that role, that heightened level. And I think people who are like yourself,
the question
or even
then
John,
becomes though, if everybody, which I can definitely get behind because magnetic fields, our brains, everything, right? It then becomes, at what point do we stop calling it mediumship and we call it just being a human being? And then we give that title to those that can actually, for example, like yourself, Amie, that can communicate with spirits, rather than someone like me who won't hear a spirit unless I, fire up a device like Transcend Theory or Necrometer or Vox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like with that, like what he was saying, I like to explain it that way as well. Not everybody's Tony Hawk, but everybody can stand or get on the skateboard at some point.
I'll fall off my ass.
I can't.
Yeah.
Me too.
Man. Me too.
I can sit on it, but I can't stand up where shit.
Me too.
So
I'll sit on it. Can't stand on it.
Yes.
No, it's awful. Amie, you talk about vibrations and frequency a lot, which is a really interesting sort of. I guess it's like a Kabbalion philosophy or like the Hermetic principle of vibration. Like we're all this frequency, we're all this vibe, and I don't know if was there a certain instance that you, when talking to spirit, recognized that, or was that something you read and sort of got into? Like, how did you put those two belief systems together? What was it that made you recognize that?
That's a great question. Nobody ever asked me that. Yeah, that I choose to not read anything. The only book that I've ever read was that other one, and I thought it was full of horseshit. So after that, I chose to not read anything because I didn't want anybody else's experience and opinions to falter my own or me to be influenced by it. I wanted it to be a pure, like, best way I can get it is like scientific, extraction of what it is. Like, that's it. And so when people ask me, what books do you read? And I'm like, none. I just sit in my room and I be weird and I try to figure it out. That's it, right? So that's it. But with that, I think me being a musician for like my whole life, number one, has really helped me. The one thing that I figured out was when I used to write music all the time. I still do it, but when I have my nails on, I can't do it. So I write things on my piano, my guitar, I layered it all together. I put my violin on top of it, like it's the whole thing. But remember, all that music, that either invokes feelings or people write it because of a feeling. Right? So music, right? So if you're thinking about like heavy metal rock music, what does that make you feel? Aggression, anger, sometimes sadness. Those are like lower vibration, sometimes hyped up, just depending on what your state is and what your tune matches it. Usually if you're going through and you're playing in a higher octave, that's light, that's love, that's airy, that kind of brings it lifts you up.
Right? 528 hertz.
There you go. Yes. And then you have the middle, which is kind of like normal. So like just the key of C. That's what all of our things for, the casino, like ding, 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 all that, that's done. It's kind of just keep you in like this meditative middle state. So after I started like dissecting that, I was like, holy fuck. Okay, even my voice, like when people go and they talk, if I talk in the same tone down here over and over and over again, it can put people in some sort of meditative state and keep them there. That's what Om is, right? That's the whole thing.
Okay.
So within all that, those are frequencies. Then I noticed when I started channeling and like really, really getting deep, because I've been doing it for forever, but when I started getting really deep into it, I noticed that when spirits would come in, maybe they ended up, committing suicide, or maybe they ended up dying of a drug overdose because they were an addict for 20 years. When they would show up, they would make me feel all those same feelings that music would make me feel in that certain octave or that certain frequency. So from there, I would have to tune myself down or tune my feelings down to that vibration or that level in order to connect with them. That's it.
Got it. No, it's fascinating. It's really an interesting take. And John's theory on spirits and is the one thing that I always found interesting, because we don't come at it from a religious place, like the soul and heaven or hell, is that we all have energy in us, right? It's a fact, right? Brain synapses, electrical energy. And when we die, that energy has to go somewhere. But it cannot be created or destroyed. What happens is we think, or he thinks, and what we're trying to say is that consciousness, which we don't really know or understand, the mind is attached to that energy somehow. And then that spreads out. So John believes he's talking to, when he's talking to memories of spirit, in a sense, right? That's sort of his,
50,
like, this
50.
is what he's, right. That's kind of what he believes he's speaking with. Which is just a fascinating thing, but it still plays into frequency, energy, like the way that spirit boxes work is they're manipulating frequency, they're manipulating energy. So that's kind of where it comes from for him. So it's a really interesting thing that you've connected with. So that's how you connect. So has there ever been, do you have to get to a certain frequency to connect with certain
people,
spirits?
And
have you ever, is there like a specific, is there a sort of a frequency you don't want to get to do that. Is that hard for you? You know what I mean? Does that question make sense?
No, absolutely. Can I go back on John's take?
Yeah,
real
please.
quick of it. So 50% of that is absolutely correct. So spirits will come in, they will hop in your body, and they will make you view and experience their memories and they don't remember everything. You don't remember everything when you cross over, but you do remember key moments, things that have like this emotional, like deepness to it, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. And they're trying to show that to you in order for them to like release. There are some spirits that are just residual energy. For some reason it gets trapped, but it's not a conscious entity. Just kind of like if you walk into a room after a fight, you can feel, if you like, you're just like, that room doesn't feel great. It's because that energy like sloths off on you. And the only way I can describe it is like an ether. That's the old 1800s term.
We've had some academics describe that. Sorry to interrupt you. We've had some academics describe that as more of like how they would define a haunting. Most people find a haunting as an imprint. So like you could be alive and leave your imprint on something. And then that's, it just repeats. It's like playing a tape over and over and over again.
It can be.
As opposed to like an apparition, which is what we would think of as a ghost or a spirit. Yeah, right. Exactly. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you're okay. So they do hop in your brain. They do play with it. They do make you see, feel, and experience memories because they want to connect with you. But remember too, the only memories that they can make you see are things that you personally have seen, felt, and experienced and done before. So they're going to take little clips from all these different things that your brain has ever accessed before, and they're going to smash it together to try to talk about their experience. Okay?
And how do you decipher what's what?
Oh, so let's get into that. All right. Oh, this is so much fun. Oh, it's crazy. Oh, it's such a mindfuck. Yes.
Yeah, like how do you know what you're hearing isn't a memory versus an apparition versus, you're talking to the right person, if you will, right?
Yeah. Okay. So when you sit down with a client or when you sit down with a person that wants to be channeled, whether it's a client, friend, person that I go out and see, we'll get into how everything happens for a reason and there's no chance and all that stuff in a little bit. But essentially, if I'm sitting down with a person, they have to be in the right energy and in the right space. And I don't mean that they have to be like, or whatever it is, but they can't have any distractions. It's you and me. Get your kids out of the room, get the dogs out of the room. I want you to be calm. Don't just get off of work. I want you to be relaxed because you are the channel. Whatever frequency you're in, like if you are in super deep grief and your loved one just died, you're probably going to be in a lower state than what they are. So it's going to be more difficult, not impossible, but more difficult for me to connect because 50% of the energy or the power is with you because we're all connected. Like we just are because we're all each other. And then essentially when you go in and you start feeling, sometimes I'll go through and I'll just like feel and see who's around. Other times my client will say, I want to channel, like this is Friday. She says, can I channel Richard? Richard is my dad, right? So that's what she asked me. So I'm sitting there for a second and I'm feeling, and the only way that I can tell you what it feels like as a representation is it's almost like, this is going to sound so stupid, but echolocation. It's like you're sending out a signal and you're trying to get it back. You're sending out, it's like ping, 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 ping. And so I'm pinging at like the highest because I'm happy, I'm light, I'm super excited to connect with her. And I'm like, Richard, where are you at? What are you doing? That's what it feels like in my brain. And then I get nothing. And I'm like, okay, maybe Richard's not here, right? He's always here. There's a reason why she wants to connect with him. Of course, Richard's fucking here. And so then I go through and I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll make myself less happy. So I get a little bit more melancholy and I'm like, hold on, let me adjust myself. I calm down. I get kind of blah, like that kind of feeling. And then I'm like, okay, Richard, where are you at? And then all of a sudden my head, it's like you're feeling in the back of your head, you feel like just something show up. It's not, you can't see anything. It's just like there's now something in your space, like a circle or like a mass or whatever it is. That's the only way I can describe it. Can't see it with your eyes. It's like you're feeling it. And then I'm like, okay, is this Richard? And then all of a sudden he shows me an image of, and he makes me feel right here hurting really, really bad. And I started rubbing it and I was like, he committed suicide, didn't he? And she was like, yeah. And I said, I don't think he shot himself. I did say he hang himself. And she was like, yes. And then he references Mike or Bubba, which is a client I had, there's a video of him. Mike shot himself in his garage. He didn't hang himself. I said, did he do this in his garage? And she starts crying and she's like, yes. And I was like, okay, well, he's coming to say, I'm sorry. So he's taking other sessions that I've had to try to talk about his experience, because I've personally never, done that to myself. So that's how they do that. And then from there, when I'm asking them questions, I said, so why did you do this? Like literally in my brain, I'm like, well, what's up? Why did you do this? And so it's almost like I'm scanning every scenario that I've ever seen or I could possibly think of to see if he'll highlight one. So I'm like, were you and your wife in a fight? He says, no, we're perfectly fine. What about your kids? No, we're perfectly fine. I'm like, were you just really depressed? Nah, it was hard. It was difficult, but not crazy depression. And then I said, so what's happening? And then he gives me this feeling of coughing heavily, and he gives me the feeling of when I have people that die of long COVID or die of like emphysema because like their lungs are melting on the inside, like that whole thing, or they start bleeding, or tuberculosis. And I was like, this is odd. I said, did your dad have like long COVID? And she goes, no. I said, he keeps making my lungs burn, and he's sitting on the side of the bed and he's coughing and he's complaining about that. And she says, oh, he had bronchitis, but it had been chronic for 10 years and he had kept getting bacterial infections, and he was septic and nobody could do in it, and his inner lining of his lungs had been eaten away from this, and so he would cough up blood, but it wasn't tuberculosis. And so he wrote this note saying he couldn't live with that pain anymore, and that's why he took his life.
Jesus Christ. So all right, but Amie, okay, you have to get yourself into this place to talk to this person in order to help your client. How do you protect yourself?
You're always protected. You don't need to protect yourself.
That can't be good mentally, physically, to get into that space. That's such a dark space all the time. No, I mean, am I wrong?
It's just a story.
Is it like it's cool?
It's a story. It's not my story. It's their story, and it
feels
needs
stressful.
to be told. It can be, but it's not when you realize that it's their story and they went through it, and that's a story that they have with their person. It's not mine. I'm here to give the message. I'm here to talk about. I'm here to be the bridge between the two, but I'm not here to like take that and take it home with me, because remember, at the end of the day, all of us are going to die, no matter what is going to happen.
Did you always know that? Did you always? That's a very mature statement, though, from an adult person. Like when you were younger, was that? How do you not take something home? So
I used to get really sad.
Okay, so when did you? Okay, when did you make that turn? When did you learn to, and what did you do to say, I have to stop this here, or I have to protect myself by doing this? And what was that? Can you pinpoint it at all? Or?
Yeah, kind of a little bit. So when I was 29, I had this. Or I was 30. I can't remember which one it is. I'm 36 now, so I'll be 37 in like a month. And so about 7 years ago, like I had been living with this, and every single session I would cry, and it was not in a bad way, or like after them, like I would like offload it, right? Because you have kids drowning, you have people murder suicides, you have grandmas passing away and the whole family's around them, and like they can't say goodbye because they have a tube down their throat, like you name it, every which way possible. And I would take that and I would feel the sadness from my client, the loss of the other side. But it's odd too, because then you're like, okay, well, they're fine, right? So there is that silver lining. But after sessions, I would go and I would sit in my bathtub and I would just feel like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And then at some point I had a feeling, and it said, and this is probably a download or spirit or God or whatever you want to call it, or just my higher self, I don't know, it's all the same thing. And it said, remember, it's just their story. You don't have to take it with you. And I was like, but how do I not take it with me? Like I was getting their pain and I was personalizing it. And I felt like it was my duty to hold on to it, right? And it wasn't. And so the kicker was, I had this session with this wonderful woman. She wanted me to channel her two dogs. They were named Kirby and Daisy. I was just thinking, it's like, okay, both the dogs passed. Okay, they probably got put down, whatever it is.
Wait a second. You were channeling a dog?
Yeah, I channeled dogs, cats. I've done dolphins. I've had chickens. I've had a potbelly pig. I've had.
That's outrageous. All right.
No, it's great. That's a whole other level.
I want to hear. Yeah, like, do you understand it as English?
Yeah. Oh, we'll talk about that. So dogs. Are you like humans,
are you like the Dr. Doolittle of the dead or something?
Everybody can. Yes. It's because remember, we're all energy. Oh, we'll talk about that in just a second. Okay. It's great.
Yeah. All right.
So
keep going.
I was channeling them, and I was like, I said, "What happened to you?" I was like, "Where was your mom at?" And there was this feeling of this dog. He made me feel the feeling of like when you get a puppy when they're little and you lift them up by the scruff of their neck, right? Just to hold them, to like put them somewhere really quick. And he lifted it up, and then he made me feel what it felt like when I had clients that drowned. And then he made me feel like this sinister, evil, dark feeling. And I was like, okay. And then he keeps making me feel this feeling of, why don't you love me? Why don't you love me? I love you. I love you. And then death. And I said, did somebody like drown him, or did he get like drowned in the bathtub? And I said, it's not you. I said, who is the guy? Like, who's bathing him? I go, and why is he so sad? Essentially, her boyfriend at the time, she broke up with him. He broke into her apartment. He went in, grabbed that singular dog, and then essentially waterlogged it 100 times over and over.
John, you just walked into a story where she felt and channeled a dog that was murdered by some girl's real jerk-off ex-boyfriend who would do that to a dog.
Great place to just enter, you know?
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hate that story makes me, like, I get chill. I've got literal chills because I can't watch any movies where dogs or kids die.
Listen, I'm pretty sure we all agree that anybody that does anything to innocent animals is
garbage. This is a garbage.
Complete and utter garbage. But anyway,
true garbage. And it's like, so you felt that from. So you got that feeling.
Yeah.
It's kind of like E.T. then, is what you're saying. Like my obscure movie references. It's like, no, Elliot doesn't. You know.
Ouch.
Well,
my fingers are very long.
But it's like Elliot doesn't hear E.T.'s thoughts; he feels E.T.'s feelings. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. But that's with animals. That's with the animals.
That's with animals and people. And so that's how spirits talk. And so he made me feel this up and down. And then she says, yeah, he grabbed him and he videoed it, all of it. That's the only way she could confirm it. And he kept waterlogging it. And at the very end, he held him under and he drowned to death. And then he got an iron to the other one and then pressed it on its face until it died.
Dude, this is a psychopath.
He is, and slammed it. So anyways, with our session, are you ready for this? This is where it gets interesting.
This is where it gets interesting?
Yeah, this is another one. So this is where it gets interesting. So she was asking me, she was like, what should I do about this? She's like, the authorities in Chicago won't do anything. And it had happened like a month before. And I said, I need you to go as far as you can, press charges, write a book, make a big deal about it. She ended up getting our session and posting it places. She ended up writing a book. And this past year, he finally went to prison. And she has a book and she has the social media. Like, you can ask her about this. Her name is Sarah Manos. She's online. And she's one of my friends. But she just had a baby.
That's
oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
That is, well, I'm glad it's got a happy ending to it. That is a crazy person.
Yeah, he was. Sorry. But I got really sad after that.
No, don't apologize.
Don't apologize. It's like, I don't like hearing about, like, that's true garbage to me. Like, I would definitely, I'd run over somebody who hurt a dog. I'd run over a person before I'd run over a dog. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's not a,
Can I
it's
tell
really
you
not
another
even a
dark
question.
one?
Sure, I guess.
Okay.
So
Are you ready?
Yeah,
I'm all about it.
I know.
It's 9:30 in the morning for me. Let's start the day with some darkness, I guess.
Yeah.
Go for it, Amie. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So this was probably my most, I didn't know what to do because, by the way, I hate the term, I'm an ethical medium. My God, everybody should be fucking ethical. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you labeling that yourself? Either you do it or you don't. But anyways, I digress. So with that, I'm going through and there's this lovely blonde woman. She was probably about 24, 25. I can't remember the guy's name. I don't think I want to remember it, but I can remember exactly what he looked like and in my head and the way he felt. And he's in, the best way I can describe it is hell, or what would be a lower vibration, like the lowest vibrational state. So she gives me his first name. I start feeling around. I'm feeling in my upper octave. I don't feel anything. Feel in the middle. Nothing's coming back on my little echolocation. And so I start to get like, I was like, weird. I was like, I don't feel him at all. And she was like, well, he may be really frustrated. And I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Because I'm like, well, why are you not here? So I started adjusting myself to like frustration. And then I adjust myself to anger. And the best way I can describe that it looks like in my brain is he shows up. It is an entire room of black. Everything is black. And there's like a single light barely illuminating his face. And he's pacing back and forth and he's grunting. And all I hear is those little bitches got away. Those little bitches got away. And then I'm like, okay, he's talking about like two bitches. Maybe it's two girls, because that's what I'm assuming, right? And I'm like, I don't get this.
Yes, bitches would be at least more than one bitch.
Yeah, it would be exactly. And so I was like, odd. I said, he keeps doing this. And I asked him, I said, who is this person? He says, oh, you're talking to my slut. Like, just said that. How do I convey that to my client? And so I like negate it. And I was like, so you and him weren't married, you were dating? It's kind of what I say. And
Right.
she goes, yeah, we were seeing each other. And then I go, why does he keep referencing like these two bitches or maybe two people are not with him and he's angry? And she just like panics. And I said, hold on. And so I start channeling. I said, what happened to you? How did you get here? Clearly he's in a lower state. And then he makes me feel what it feels like to walk through tall grass and have shorts on, like with the tall grass on my legs. And I'm like, because we have acreage, and so like I walk through that shit all the time. And then he makes me hear like a metal door opening, and then he shows me a head exploding, which was very interesting. And I said, so he committed suicide, maybe outside or maybe like a shed or like a metal building? And she says yes. And I said, it's weird, he's talking about, like, I get the feeling of murder. I go, but those people aren't here. And he keeps referencing sons as well. And she says, well, he got mad because his wife found out about me, and the wife was going to take the two boys. And so he took them out early in the morning instead of going to school, and he shot them both in the shed and then killed himself. So she was wanting to see if he loved her, and he was the absence of love on every level.
Oh my God.
The two boys were in heaven. They're in a higher vibrational state, and he was mad about it, but whatever. Fuck him.
All right, listen. I don't know how you do what you do. Do you have a story? Is there any story in here that's like a fun one? You know, where it's like, yeah, listen.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all about death. So
I know, but it's death. It's like something that's a little more uplifting. Can we have like? Can't we get a story about like, you know, here's like an old couple that were together for 50 years, and then like, you know, it's like,
God.
Don't you have a Notebook type story where we can all feel warm inside?
Okay, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes,
This is
please.
sorry. I may be channeling her soon because she's come up in my brain 2 or 3 times as of recent. It's probably been 3 years at this point. I think, okay, so number one, if
John's got a big anniversary he just had, so a good love story might be a good way to, let's hear a good love story.
This is where it's at. So I remember, for me, the reason why somebody pops in my head is because I'm probably either going to interact with them soon, I'm going to get an email from them, or I'm going to be channeling them. So the reason why I'm choosing this specific story is probably because I'm about to channel them, which means when I figure it out when that is, I will email you just to show you that, yes, that is a real thing. Okay?
I love it.
Yeah, so anyways, I remember there was this woman, she was having a session with me in her car. And she wanted to channel somebody named Dustin. She was like, I want to see if I can get in contact with Dustin. I said, okay. So, because I have a lot of people that just want to get in contact with a single specific person, and you can. The reason why they want to get in contact with that person is because that person is wanting to get in contact with you, and they've been trying, and now they're like, holy shit, okay, at least we can do this now. So they're always going to show up. So I sit down and I start feeling, and in my brain, he shows up in the passenger seat next to her, and he's vaping. I said, so he vapes? And she says, yeah. I said, this is weird. I said, this is not your son, right? I said, he looks very young. And she goes, oh, he's 20 years younger than me. I was like, oh, okay. And I start feeling, oh yeah, I start feeling, and I was like, what happened to you? What's going on? And he shows me this like whirlwind romance. He makes me hear horses. He makes me see beautiful forest. He makes me see a mean husband, like somebody grumbling outside. And I was like, do you live like on a ranch or something? And she goes, yeah. I said, so you have horses? She was like, oh, we own an equestrian training center. And he was one of the people that would help train the horses. I'm like, oh shit. And I was like, well, who is the angry husband? I said, you're not married. She goes, yeah. And I'm like, you know, I can't release this session because of that, right? So essentially I'm like, oh, this is so juicy. So anyways, I go through and I ask him, I said, you know, what happened to you? What's going on? And he makes me, do you remember the movie, God, what was it? Pearl Harbor? Do you remember
Sure.
that movie? Okay, so he makes me hear the song, the "When I Look Back on These Times" and the da 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 da. There's like a whole song that Faith Hill sings as the airplanes are flying over, and like Josh Hartnett, like we think, or no, Ben Affleck goes down, and like his airplane, like the whole 9 yards or whatever it is, and I'm like, he wasn't military, right? She goes, no. I said, it's weird that they keep referencing this movie. They keep referencing planes and like the specific area where the planes go down over in Japan. And she says he died in a plane crash. And I was like, oh. And I was like, is it a reason why he talks about Josh Hartnett and Ben Affleck? So there was two people. She goes, yeah, it was him. It was his last flight to become a pilot and a private pilot. And he was with his instructor. And I was like, oh my God. And so now I'm asking, I don't know where she lives at. I'm like, where did this happen? Because they can tell you like what the area looks like. They can show you what they were seeing. You get these little last snippets, pop, 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 of what happened. And so I'm asking him, and he shows me snippets of what I've seen when I've looked at like documentaries of Canada with like the cruciferous forest, like the super thick pine trees, like super. And I was like, was this like more like north, like near Canada or like on the Canadian border? And she said, yeah, it was on the border of, what is it? Minnesota, I think that is Minnesota or whatever it is. And she says
I'm not Magellan. I'm not good at geography. I don't know where.
It's okay. I have to remember everything, and so sometimes I forget some things. But she said that what they know is that it didn't install. They couldn't get it back up, and he ended up crashing through a forest, these thick forests, and they got impaled. Let's just say that.
Sure.
Okay. But as we're in there, and he's like having this feeling of like, I miss you, I love you. I hear bop, 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 like this knock. And she's like, oh my God. He was like, what are you doing out here? Why are you hiding from me? And she puts the phone down. It's her husband. It's her husband that came outside to try to find her. And he's like, get the fuck inside the house. And I'm like, whoo! Anyways, it was the whole thing. But
it's like a Bravo episode. I like this one.
It was a Bravo episode, but he ended up, she was like, I'm on the phone. I don't remember who she said she was. It was like a family member. And he said, well, get back in here. So essentially he went inside and I calmed myself down and I go back into the session and I said, do you have a little boy? She said, yes. I said, weird. I said, he keeps showing that he's playing with an airplane. I said, I don't know if your son wants to be a pilot. And she goes, no. She says, right before he died, because he was about to get his license, he gave him a set of little airplanes and he plays with them every day. And he says that he talks to him. And I was like,
ooh, I thought you were going to say like the boy is actually that guy's son, the pilot's son.
No, I don't. No, I wish.
That would have been.
I wish that would have been juicy.
That would have been real juicy stuff, right? Like that would have been nuts. I took that story to my own place. Look, speaking of great love stories, so Amie, you're married, right? Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Second marriage.
I am curious to know, because of what you do for a living and because of all the near-death experiences in medical history, and I just got to know, because your husband must be a saint. It's like, what do you tell him first? That you talk to the dead, or sickness and health could mean a hell of a lot in our lives together. So buckle up. Like, what do you say first, this guy? And then he sticks around for both, right? Like,
buckle up. Today's a bad one,
Let me tell you. Like, how did you, I just want to know from a personal, experience, it's like, listen, 2 things about me you should know. These 2 big things.
Yes, okay, so this is how it happened. All right, so I got my first divorce. We co-parent great now. Good guy. We have a son together. He's 12, wonderful. But then obviously got a divorce, didn't like what I did. And so when I got a divorce when I was 26, I decided to go out and play the field. Like it was bad. Essentially.
Wait, Amie, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
You're okay.
He didn't like what you did, as in he didn't like it at all.
No, he told me that it was evil and it was the devil.
Okay, he's one of those. Gotcha. Yeah.
One of those guys.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. And so I didn't get a divorce because of that. I got a divorce because essentially the abuse had been going on for 5 or 6 years. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk. He would tell me, oh, the only reason why you're staying with me is for insurance and you can't leave me because if you do, you're going to die. Ha ha ha. And so at that point, I took that as a fucking challenge and I was like, fuck you. Yes, I am.
You're like, I'm getting the hell out. Yeah. Good for you.
Exactly. Yes.
Good for you.
That's what ended up happening. Are you ready for the cool karma? So he got remarried and his new wife has my disease.
That's weird, right?
Wow.
That's a little strange.
I think he has a type.
Yes, exactly. I agree with you on that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I go out and I play the field, and actually, with what I do, it really helped me date, which is interesting because I knew what people felt like. I knew what their glances felt like. I knew what to say and what to do to kind of like pull them in or push them away. It's a really weird thing. So there would be like a game. I'd be like, okay, I like that person. Yeah, I'm going to get them. All right. Yes. Okay, I got them. Now I'm done. On to the next one. Like that. It was bad. Okay, because I got a divorce, so we'll leave it there. So essentially,
I get it.
you
No
get it.
judgment.
There was a time period. It's okay. There was a time period that for about 2 years, that's what I did. And then I finally said, okay, you need to chill out. Why are you dating all these people? Why don't you find somebody that loves you? Because at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm a medium. I'm chronically ill. You know, I'm going to live in an apartment for the rest of my life. Like, I want to farm, but I can't do it because I can't lift more than 5 pounds, whatever, fuck it. And I essentially said, okay, now I'm going to turn into a celibate nun. Right. So I went, I did. So I cut everybody off and I wrote everybody's names down. And I was like, well, why am I dating all these people? And I realized it was because I liked something about them that I wanted to find in myself. That's it. With each one of those people, it was something that I was trying to find in myself. That's it. So I started doing the inner work and I started seeing like, well, why did I date the doctor? Why did I date the lawyer? Why did I date, the accounts executive in Dubai? Like, why did this happen, right? It was because each one of these people had something interesting, but they didn't have it all. So after doing that, I ended up getting on Tinder on accident because my best friend put me on there because I was the one that would help my friends get all their dates. Like, I would be the person behind the scenes, and then when they got the date, I'd give it to them, go have fun, free, right? And I ended up having my third near-death experience. Because of all, funny story, my bladder, my butt, and my cooter fall out because my mesentery fails. So I've had 3 different surgeries to kind of tack them back up. Have you ever sneezed at work and your asshole fell out? That's fun, okay? Just FYI, that was a real thing. I had to tell my boss. That was very odd, okay? And so with
You
that,
blew out your own ring.
Yes, exactly. And so I couldn't, I can't feel when I pee, like nothing, because everything's been numb so much. And so I would get these really bad bladder infections that would lead to a kidney infection. And since I have only had 1 kidney, if I didn't catch it early, I was fucked. So I essentially had septic shock. I passed out at work. They put me on life support. They brought me back. They were able to kill the infection with vancomycin and all this stuff. And I came out of it. I was in the hospital for another week. And I came home and my best friend said, hey, Amy, go ahead and get off a Tinder. I got a date with this guy. I think his name was Michael. And I go, okay. And I was curious. I was just laying in bed because I had like 2 or 3 more days off from like recovering. And I was like, let's see who messaged me on Tinder. Because remember, I swore everybody off. And there was this one person and he had a single profile picture and it said like, if you like street tacos and long walks on the beach. And my profile said, if you like tacos and like Mexican food. Like, it was just super simple because I wasn't on there to date. And
Right.
I said hi. He said hi. And then that was the end of it. So essentially what happened is at that point in time when I started dating, I didn't want anybody to know anything about me. If I didn't take you seriously.
Like at what point of the conversation did you say my asshole fell out? It's
Yeah,
not an
well,
easy, there's no cool segue for that.
I know. So we were actually eating sushi. And he was talking to me. It was like our 5th date. And he was like, I really want this to go to the next level. And he's the oldest of 4 boys. Okay, he hasn't had any kids. He hasn't been married before. And I look at him and I go, I know we get along really well. I said, but I have a couple of things that I have to tell you. And he's like, what? I said, I know you're the oldest. I can't have kids because I had a total hysterectomy. And he was like relieved. He was like, well, that's great because I don't want any. I was like, oh, wonderful. Number 2, I was like, I have a son and he is 6. And he's like, okay, cool. I want to be a dad. This is great. We're past the baby phase. So I'm like, what the hell is this guy? Like, where is he coming from? And then as we keep going, if you've ever, it's going to sound weird, but if you ever touch me or if you ever get a chance to hug me, I feel like an orthopedic pillow. So I'm super soft, I'm super squishy, and everything is very bendy and stretchy and everything like that because of my illness. And so even my bones. And so when you touch me, I'm very velvety. And I go, you know why I'm so soft? And he's like, yeah. I said, I have a connective tissue disorder and all these things have happened to me. And at that point he couldn't see the scar on the back of my brain. And he was like, well, I'll be there to help you. And I'm like,
Jesus Christ, this guy's a dream.
Yeah. Or I was just really good. I don't know which one it was. It was probably both. And so we went through and we talked about it. And then on like the 5th date, I started talking to him about what I did. And he was like, yeah, sure. A lot of girls like crystals and all that stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't need any of that. That's all stupid. Right. And so then essentially he sat down one time with me. And I guess for like the first like 6 months, I didn't have him in any sessions. I didn't really include him at all. And then one day he said, like, is it okay if I sit with you on your session? Like, is it okay if I just listen in another room? And I said, okay. So I asked my client, and as he's sitting there, he starts to get really dizzy. And he gets up and I go, are you okay? And he goes, Amie, I feel sick. And I go, why? And he was like, I don't know. He's like, as soon as you started like doing whatever you do, he was like, it was like the wind got pulled out of me or something. And he's like, I don't want to be here anymore. He was like, I'm not in the relationship, but like in the room. And so he went to the other room and he felt like instantly better. And I think for that experience, he was like, okay, there's something going on. It's weird. And then from there, he started seeing it. He started seeing the reviews. He started hearing about it. I started showing him all the synchronicities, like how things work, how everything's connected, how like you're creating your own reality, like all of that. And then from there, I'm really just kind of like deep diving him into what it is and showing him proof every step of the way. And now he's like, okay, it's weird. I like it. Okay, good. But like, that's essentially the extent of it.
Amie, I love that story. I love it so much. It's like a real human story in this world.
You know what I really like too, what she said there at the end. And this is what I tell people all the time, and people just don't grasp it. I get asked the question, John, how do you protect yourself? Why are you so calm? Why are you so nonchalant when you're out here doing what you're doing? And I always say, I am the master of my own reality.
Yes, absolutely.
Hands down. I am the master of my own reality. I'm glad you said that. That's a strong point, and a lot of people can't grasp it. And I believe that just falls into why a lot of people are so, I guess, as you would say, closed off, if you will. They just don't understand the concept. It's like, I'm the master of my reality. That's it.
Yes.
End of story. There's no other.
John, you've experienced like feeling sick, right? I feel like that's something that's happened.
Oh, yeah. That's what they do. They hop in your body and they make you get really nauseous.
Yeah.
I projectile vomited during a session one time. The one time.
Your client must have loved it.
When I go to a really, really haunted location called Buck out here in New York, and after every time I'm there, and while I'm there, I physically feel like I'm getting the shit kicked out of me.
You are.
So it's insane. It's constant. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just no matter what part I'm at, no matter what I'm doing. Yeah.
I know. I think that if we were able to see what was happening around us, I'd be a lot more afraid. But since I can only feel it, I don't care.
You can only feel it. I think I see. That's the funny thing. I get angry a lot. You know how we all have our demons and our issues.
Because they pull off your masculine energy.
I am just an angry soul, and so if I get knocked on my ass by a spirit, most people go and run. I get up and start flipping out, And
that's good. That's good because the entities that you're talking to, they need that. They need that pushback, and that's what I always tell people. I go, if you're dealing with a spirit that's an asshole, you don't go and run and be afraid because they feed off of that frequency. That's like their food. That's their energy. Yep. So what you do, like when I went to St. Albans Insane Asylum in Virginia. I don't know if you've ever been there, but that's a crazy place. There was this guy in there.
I've heard of it. I've never been, but I've heard of it.
Oh, it was great. I went in there and there's this really, really angry guy in the bottom. He like murdered all these different women and then buried them on the property. And everybody's like, why don't you go down in there? They're like, it's too terrifying. And so I walk in there. I'm like, what the fuck do you want? Like that. And yes, you can feel this that would come across, but they'll try to mess with you, but they don't. And as soon as you start to have fear, that's when they take over.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So I always tell people intent is everything.
It is.
Intent is everything. It's and I also love how you're like, crystals, you don't need that shit. While I'm live, they're beautiful, but you don't need them. While I'm live, I always, because people are like, you need the sage, you need crystals.
No. That's intense.
I have a little song, crystals, Jesus, salt, and sage. I say to people, and some people get offended by it, but you know what? They don't get it. They just don't understand it.
No, it doesn't. These don't do. People are like, oh my God, sorry, I thought I had a piece. It's over there. People go, oh my God, it changes the frequency or it helps power up. You're putting your energy through that. Like, why don't you just like not dilute it and just use it?
Yeah. Well,
You know what I'm
and that's
saying?
the other thing. If we scientifically dive into it, the purest crystals are the clearest.
Yes.
And people don't realize that. Like scientifically, the purest ones are the clearest. So all these different, tiger's eye and this, that, and the other for all these things. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It just, to me, it doesn't make sense. So yeah,
Yes.
it's crazy, but they're beautiful. Don't get me
They
wrong.
are.
I have crystals all over this place.
Yes.
Not for any, just because they're beautiful.
Because pretty. I agree. I agree. What? What were you going to say, Gary?
I just wanted to ask you because you start talking about, how you're dealing with people say this or people say that and they push you in one way or the other. Look, you're running a very successful business as well, right? That's the thing that John will get a lot of heat for it, and he does get a lot of heat. Oh, this is fake. This is shit. It's like all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, we always blow it up. I love the trolls. He has moderators that kick him out, and I would love to argue with them all the time.
I sing to him.
And you have a massive audience. How do you, so just like you guys both have a very big TikTok following, and I'm curious what you do. Or people are worse. In my opinion, people are worse than spirits in a lot of ways. Reddit is like, I just started getting into Reddit to promote this thing. They're so mean. What is it? How do you balance that? How do you balance that sort of, or is it just as simple as you just ignore it? But really, you are trying to run a business in terms of people hating on you, people faking it. What is the advice you give other people when it comes to that sort of angle in your practice, really?
Okay. Number one, I just want to let you know I have so I always have these Yeti cups and I make chai tea. So I put a teaspoon or a tablespoon of sugar, 2 Tazo chai tea bags, and like a quarter cup of whole milk. I have a whole Reddit on people theorizing what's in my cup, and they all think it's booze.
Oh my God, of course they do. Yeah,
don't
Reddit
drink.
is a dark place.
It is. It's I don't do drugs. I don't drink or anything like that. Ooh, we have to talk about that. Okay, drugs in a second.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Okay.
So I don't.
I love the conversation.
Yes, we're going to talk about that and why some people feel that they need weed or mushrooms to enlighten themselves, but then others that they take it, it lowers their vibrational state. And it's because we're all on different levels and different frequencies. So when you're super anxious, you're really uptight, you're really like in this reality where you think nothing else exists. When you do smoke a little bit or when you do take something, it allows you to relax, to level up or like raise your vibration. But then as you do it, you get used to that. So actually when you start taking it, it actually brings you down in the long run. So therefore you can't connect. So at some point you have to realize that you don't need anything to connect because it is just you. It was all inside of you to begin with. But anyways, okay, going back to the other thing. That's because I have a lot of companies that are like shroom companies. They're like, will you go through and promote us? And I'm like, you don't need anything. Sorry, can't do that for you. But going back to that, so haters. Recently I had between 2,000, 2,500 people on my live every single night, which has been pretty popping, which is great, which is cool.
Yeah.
But it's not my job to teach people that just I like calling it throwing poo. Essentially, they come up. I always like to say it's like they have Tourette's. You're fake. Ah! And I'm like, my God, you angry little demon.
And they repeat themselves over and over too.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I know. So I get the comment and I pin it to the top. And I go, everybody, look at what this person said. Isn't it phenomenal? Go check out their profile. Bless them with love and kindness. And so everybody's like, I bless you.
I love that idea, John.
Yes. And they're still like that type of thing.
Oh, and sometimes they get so frustrated. If you do that to them, like I'll sing to them, right? And I'll create whole songs around what they say. And they get so upset, and the community loves it. Yes. They love it. They love and you're still spreading positivity, if you will. Yes. You're still being positive with it, Yep. Yeah, that's great.
That's all you do. You have to pin it. You have to bring that darkness to light, and then therefore it has no control over you, right? Yep. And then from there, with people that go, oh my God, read me now. I'm a cynic. And I'm like, well, I don't read cynics. You're not here for a session. You're only here for like a negative attitude. When you're ready and you want, and there's like a willingness, then yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. I said, or if you want to come and learn and talk, I will answer every question and break it down as logically as I can make it be with 1,000% proof behind it. I said, please let me know. So I give them all the options.
That's
it.
I love it's a great way to face it, and I love that you pin the fact that you pin their
That's
comments.
great.
Is, I
That's
do
so-
love
that's
that. I
great.
love that so much.
Do that.
You know, Amie, you've given us a great amount of your time, and I'm very thankful for it. John, I don't know if you have any other. I have one more question, and John, if you have any other questions for Amie.
I want to hear what she was going to say about the drug use and all that, because it's an interesting. There's mixed feelings within every community about it, right?
Of course.
Some people, it's very strange with me. Like I do, or listen. I am
don't
an
care.
avid believer in cannabis. All right.
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
I have a couple of things wrong with me, and
Yeah.
a couple of tokes here and there, and those things go bye and they're
Yes, they
manageable.
do. I go to pain management.
Yeah, which is great. Which is great, and but like there are people now. You've probably heard this before. If you drink, you're lowering your frequency
You are.
and whatnot. But what I liked how you said is how some people it brings it up, some people it brings it down, some people and how you don't need it at all. I just thought it was very interesting. So I want to hear what you were going to say, because you were going to say more, and I just curious to that.
Yeah, so let's talk about alcohol. So essentially, alcohol, if you have especially if you're starting out in mediumship or starting out in feeling, right? You have a single drink, it relaxes you a little bit. So therefore, you can feel things more. That's why people become more empathetic. They become more like, oh my God, I know that you weren't feeling very well, especially if you're like a drunk girl, like that whole thing. But then as soon as you have 2 or 3 drinks, it's gone, right? Because now you're inebriated. Your inhibitions are gone, and you are now like sitting in the lowest vibration of yourself, which is kind of like this. You're like in your body. And so from there, since you're lowering your vibrational state, you're becoming your emotions. Instead of being aware of them as a wave, you end up attracting lower vibrational spirits that want to come and hang out with you more, just FYI. And that also means other people that are in that octave with you as well. That's why some people only have drinking friends, and as soon as you stop drinking, they kind of like disperse. It's because you're not on the same vibration anymore. That's it. You're not tuning to them. And so what I say to kind of like get rid of alcohol altogether, absolutely, 1,000%. And people are like, well, I need it to relax. No, you just haven't learned how to not have it. You are in that same pattern over and over again, and you accept that that is your only pattern that you can use. Change your fucking pattern, okay? And that's going to be a little bit hard. And then also, I have so many people that die of suicide because of alcohol. I have so many people that murder people because of alcohol. I have so many people that die either in head-on collisions, drunk driving, whatever it is. That is what kills the most people, but yet is the most commonly used drug in the entire world and is socially acceptable to be pushed on everybody between 13-year-olds all the way up to like 85-year-olds. Like, why the fuck is
True.
that?
It's insane. It's insane. We'll vilify cannabis.
Yes.
But completely promote vodka like it's
I know.
It completely blows my mind, and it always has.
I know.
Things are starting to shift a little bit, but it's still so. Hey, it's okay, have a drink, but don't do that. It's very, very odd.
Yes, I mean, the cannabis is starting to get scary because of all the different levels, and we're fucking with the plant right now. So now it's getting stronger. So therefore, it's causing symptoms of like pre-onset dementia and Alzheimer's, and so therefore, people are getting used to it. They're smoking it more. So now you're also putting yourself in a lower vibrational state. So at some point, we just have to realize that it's okay to be comfortable with ourselves, and we all have to learn how to have coping skills. And I think that if we all started becoming more spiritually and learning how to connect and learning how to really feel and not this woo-woo bullshit, then everybody would be a lot happier or a lot more in a place of gratitude or content with their life, and therefore we wouldn't need these things, and we'd be a more productive society and a better family. Anyways.
And listen, I agree, and it's also a whole, going towards the needing to do it and the wanting, and I'm not talking about addiction with the want. I'm talking about,
no, I know.
Like, oh, I need to do this, and if I don't do this, it can get crazy for a lot of people.
Like with you, with pain management, with me, with pain management, we need stuff in order for us to kind of keep ourselves level so that we don't drop down into depression, so I'm not laying on the couch 24/7 and like dying. So I don't have to bust out my wheelchair every single time I go outside. So I don't have to use my handicap sign every time I go to the grocery store. Like I want to walk like a normal person. And so from that's okay. But when we start going into excess and we start drugging ourselves to get away from our feelings and understanding what we truly are, that's the bad part.
That's the bad part. So your condition, that's genetic, right?
Yeah.
A rare genetic disorder.
Yeah.
So it's so wild, like, and
Isn't it
how
weird?
many people in your family have had it? Or
So everybody's dead in my family except for my mom and my sister because they were all born in like the 30s and the 20s. Like my dad
okay.
was 56 when he had me. So
Oh,
essentially, yeah,
okay.
uh-huh. And
Yeah.
so everybody's dead. So essentially I started having all these issues and started getting surgeries when I was like 21, 22, but nobody really knew what it was because nobody had heard about it before. And then randomly I went in when I was like 26 because I kept thinking that I kept having ear infections over and over again. Like, and I was like, what the fuck? And so I went to the emergency room. They did a brain scan to see if like it had gone into my skull or something. And then they came out and they were like, oh, you don't have an ear infection. You have Chiari malformation. And I'm like, what is that? And I looked it up, and it's where your brain is getting pushed out of your opening of your skull, and it's
Oh, in the back.
blocking.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's the
Yeah.
yes. I've heard.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
actually, and that actually goes back. See, I'm into genetics and
You're
all that.
okay.
That's
Yes.
actually, if I
Just
remember
fine to visit up.
correctly, a Neanderthal,
Hmm.
Neanderthal genetics.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And that's wild.
Mental note: remember to tell John not to compare our guests, especially the ladies, to Neanderthals.
And
No.
some it could be like hell.
Yeah, I was in a wheelchair. I stopped. I had to be on breathing, like the whole 9 yards. Like that's bad, 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 bad. And so then I had that surgery, and then after that, there was a nurse in my room, and she was touching my arm, and she was like, "Do you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome?" And I'm like, what is that? And I looked it up, and I mean everything. So I went and I got genetically tested, everything popped positive. And then from there, because it's such the most classic case of this, they ended up sending me around the United States to like be on shows so that other geneticists could like see what it is. I ended up dating one of them. That was interesting. And that's weird. But yeah. So I fall apart, and then they put me back together.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know if he's touching you because he's just trying to show you affection, or if he's studying you.
That's
you
what
know?
happened. That's what would happen. He would be like, oh,
Yeah.
and I'm like, weird. Yeah, it was interesting.
So you're basically fucked because of the past ancient humans from back in the day. I love all that stuff, by the way. That's just so wild.
That
And
is,
listen, and I think your attitude is just amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think a lot of people really would benefit to look at you and go, hey, listen, my life is fucked up, but guess what? My life is beautiful at the same time. And
That's
it's
what
just
it is.
awesome to see, it's just awesome to
Amy,
talk
what
to you
would
and
you-
get this experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for
Amy, what
having
would you
me.
tell? Like, thank you for your time and everything
welcome.
else. And I'm sure I know you have a busy schedule. Like, I just want to leave it. What would
Okay.
you? Because on that note, that's the perfect way to wrap it up. It's you are such a medical survivor. You've seen survival on both sides of the realm, if you will. You know what I mean? What would you tell people, or what's the best advice to give somebody from either serious medical trauma or PTSD about how to get through it? What is your message to them in that respect, knowing that you've seen both sides of it and you talk to both sides?
Absolutely. Number one, you don't have to carry your trauma around like a bag. It's not a Louis Vuitton. You can drop it at the door and check it. You don't have to. That trauma does not make you. You make you. And that trauma is in the past. It's just it's part of what made you who you are right now, but you don't have to hold on to it. And that may be scary in its sense. The other thing too is remember everything is happening to you for a reason, but because we want to know about it now, we get upset as to why we don't know the answer. But it could be that, I know this is going to sound weird, but it could be that you got your leg blown off because there's people that you meet, 5 years down the line that want you to help them in Special Olympics so you can help train kids, right? And you're like the most motivational person. So maybe that is the reason why it happened. So you can help these other 5 kids not kill themselves because of their genetic condition that they have. And they won that. You don't know the answer. You just have to go through and realize that life is beautiful. This is just an experience. And then from there, you go back to the only thing I can call it is God or source or the matrix or whatever it is, to just enjoy your time. And if you need meds, take meds. That's okay.
Enjoy the beautiful moments, right?
Yes, exactly. Because they're fleeting, they're quick, but every single beautiful moment leads to another one. And even in those trials and even in those tribulations, that can also be a beautiful moment. And if you step outside of it, kind of like instead of like being knee deep in it, you step outside of it and you look at it what it is, it actually becomes very entertaining.
So real quick, Amie, before we go, where if the viewer listening right now and watching right now wants to find you, where is the best? What should they check out? The links, the best thing to catch you out on.
All of those things. So my username on every platform is the THE Balesky, Balesky. That's my dad's last name. So that's my maiden last name. He was, just FYI, he was the last boy and the last family member that came over from Russia. They fled. Nobody had any other boys. And so I am the last of 7 sisters. So when he died, I was like, I want to make sure that like this name lives on. So then I went through and I trademarked it with the US government. And so now it's always here. There you go. That's why. That's my username. But yeah, if you want to look me up on social media, the Balesky Experience all the way across the board. That's YouTube, that's Twitter, that's TikTok, that's Instagram. And then also you can do the Balesky Experience, which is my website, but you can also get to that through any single one of my profiles as well.
Got it. Yeah, we'll definitely put up there. Amie, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We appreciate your time. This was really fun. I hope you had some fun doing it.
This was great.
I did. If you ever need me again, please let me know. It is so much fun to talk to y'all because it is, how do I say this? I love doing podcasts. I love doing shows, but I also get into shows where they're like, tell me how you quantum healed your, body. And I'm like, sorry.
No, we want to know, like, we want to hear. Like, for me, I am interested in figuring out, like, what the hell John is talking to when he's walking around, these haunted locations and cemeteries. And it's like, I want to know. And the best way to do it is to talk to people like yourself and others who experience things to try to get. It's a data collection, right? It's an experience collection. And what is it that you experience? What does he experience? To maybe try to paint a picture for people that have followed John and follow us or starting to follow us about what are spirits? What are we talking about?
Can I answer one thing for that? So I love going to cemeteries because I live in the middle of nowhere in between like 5 different little ghost towns out here in East Texas. And the reason why I put this location is because of that, essentially. And so I go out into the woods by myself. My husband doesn't know where the hell I'm at. And so people go, oh, are spirits just hanging out in cemeteries? Well, maybe a couple, like 1 or 2, they do because that's the last place that they left their body. Maybe somebody fell off a roof. Maybe somebody hung themselves. And so they're hanging around because that's the only place that they exist in the world. When you go to a cemetery and you read a headstone, that's the only place, like I said, that person exists as well. So when you're calling that forward, Mary, Sue, Martha, blah, 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 you're connecting with their energy and their vibration, and you can pick up on a part of them that way. So sometimes you're talking to memories or experiencing that. Sometimes you are pulling forward a spirit from this other area. Sometimes you're talking to a spirit that's been hanging out in the cemetery as well. But that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the data coincides with that. I can go and now, interesting enough, I don't say the name on the headstones. I wait for the spirit to tell me who they are.
You can do that as well, yeah.
I will get I'll get all different types of spirits. I'll get spirits that aren't around, that aren't from the cemetery.
Yes.
I'll get ones visiting, looking for loved ones, looking for people they knew. I'll get all different types. It's not just stuck to that cemetery. It's
correct
from all over. You can have one spirit buried in another place, and they'll still come looking for Mary Sue, for example.
Yes. Now, this is what I want you to do. This is what I do sometimes on the weekends. Obviously not like the last 3 weekends, but I like to go to older cemeteries from like probably 1850 and below. Now, mind you, I'm in Texas, right? So we got founded in 1820.
That's all I do. I don't do newer cemeteries out of respect for the living.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's exactly why I do it as well. There's too many feelings to go along with that. And so I want you to go to one of these places, bring a notepad and like sit next to a headstone and focus on it, call it forward, and then just see what you start to get and then write it down. And then later on, maybe a week or 2 days later, or whatever it is, go online, go to like newspapers.com, see if you can find their information or something, and then see if what you're getting matches. And that's kind of how you flex that muscle and grow that muscle. You're like, oh,
like
shit,
a blind
I did
study.
that.
Like almost like, hey, let me see what I can. Okay.
That's a really good way to like.
Do. I think you should do that too.
Gary's been looking for so many different ways to test to see if I
to test this guy.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it's
What
great.
if you need?
Here's one thing, Amy, too. We say, I'm sorry, we keep
No, we
finding
can talk
cool
here
things
for hours.
we keep
I
finding
know,
cool
I
things to
know.
talk about. But like one thing we've tested, because John, when you jumped off, I told her about, the idea of memories and the theory that we play in the world we play in. We believe we have spoken to two different versions of the same spirit.
Yes,
A
probably.
younger version and an older spirit.
Yes.
And we tried to trick one once by
Why are
telling
you
him I was
tricking
somebody else in the one
What?
location to see if they
Yeah.
called me something else in a different one, but they knew who I was. Like
Yeah.
they said I was uncle, and we told this one I was his brother. We told the other one I was the uncle, but then this one knew, and we just to see if they're separated or connected, the two different ages. So it's I don't know if you've ever experienced anything
Yes.
like
So remember,
two different
they can
versions
see
of the same
everything.
thing.
Yes, they can see everything from the top down, so they know that you're in both. They see it all. They see the whole thing. They're not in just the spot with you. They're not in just the spot with John. They're over the whole thing, and so they're like, "What is this dumbass doing? Why is he fucking lying to me? Like, what is going on?" Like, that's essentially what goes on. He's like, "Of course he's this." Like, what? That's the way it feels. And yes, when I go through and I'm channeling somebody, especially if it's like a kid, like maybe I'm channeling like a 5-year-old boy, right? There's a reason why I'm saying this as well. And so I'm going through and I'm channeling him, and he shows up, and the first thing he shows up as is he shows up like 22, right? And I'm like, weird. I was like, "You lost a son?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, I was like, "He's showing up as like 22. I said, "But he was younger, right?" And she goes, "Yeah." And as soon as I say that, he like morphs himself down in my brain as like being 5 or 6, or he like compares my son to a time, like younger, like a memory from him. That's what they do. And I go, weird. So he's like 5 or 6. She goes, "Yeah." So he's like playing out both of these ages, but it's because he died when he was 5 or 6, but now he would be aged up and he'd be like 22. Just FYI.
All right. Well, look, that sort of speaks to, it sort of goes right along with what we're trying to do, John. I mean, that's a good, to have that experience happen to somebody else is always, it's validating.
And if you ever want to, I am planning on coming up to New York to do my next big event, like that whole thing. And I have to come up there to go ghost hunting as well. And then I also have to go to the Bel Air house in Ohio. And I told them that they can lock me in that upstairs room because I don't give a shit. And I have reached out to Matt Rife and I said, "Sit me with the Annabelle doll. It's fucking stupid." And so because we're friends online. So if you ever wanted to do anything like that, please let me know.
Where in New York are you going to be?
I'm going to go to Buffalo.
Okay.
That's far for you. A little bit far for you, but
but let me tell you, I'm in Texas. It takes me, I have to drive 5 hours to go to my doctor's appointment. New York is like a fart. Right? So it doesn't matter the drive.
We'll definitely stay in touch. We'll definitely stay in touch with you, Amy. This was a real treat. We're honored to have you on. We really appreciate you taking the time for us. It was fun. It's fun to get your whole perspective and hear your story. I mean, your story is phenomenal. It is fun.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I love you guys. And if you need me, let me know.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to Splintered Spirits. Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, especially on YouTube and Spotify. If you want to see more from Amie Balesky, please check out thebaleskyexperience.com, and you can find her all over social media. Thanks for tuning in.